Hello everybody, welcome to Nostalgia Goggles. I'm Cass, also known as Retro Gaming Nerd. We're talking about this today. This is super exciting because of two reasons. One, we haven't had a 3D Donkey Kong game in so long. I was a child when the first one was out for the 64, and now we have another one. Holy crap, is that exciting. And two, I kinda called it. In my Switch 2 video, I said that I was hoping for, before I think announcement, I was hoping for a 3D Donkey Kong game. Well, let's see if this one's worth it. Let's see if it's worth the money. Let's see if it's worth your time. Let's see if it just is a great 3D game. So, let's get right into it. So the story of Donkey Kong Bananza is interesting. I think I'm just going to try to summarize it as simple as possible because, like, there's a whole bunch of moving pieces, but I think it's just easier if I don't get there, alright? So the game starts with Donkey Kong mining for Banandium gems, and eventually he gets thrown into a conspiracy with a company called Voidco, which also happens to disturb a rock, which isn't really a rock, it's Pauline from Mario Odyssey, and now Pauline is trying to get home, Donkey Kong's just in it for bananas, and Voidco is trying to get to the center of the earth, which, so is Pauline, mind you. So the best way for Pauline to get down there is by using Donkey Kong, and they go on this big adventure, and it's really just Pauline trying to get home and Donkey Kong's trying to get a whole bunch of bananas. There is more to it than that, but I think the biggest takeaway from this game is technically, it's not a triflant reptile. So yeah, that's kind of the takeaway for this one. It's interesting because I've been away from talking about Donkey Kong modern-wise for a long time. Even me commenting that it's not a triflant reptile is kind of more or less of to tell you where I'm at, because, you know, that's the last ones that I've played. I've played the other Donkey Kong countries, but like it feels interesting that he, you know, that for my existence and understanding that K. Rool's been gone for that long. With that being said, the story of this game is really all over the place. It's a good story. It doesn't give you answers to my knowledge on why Pauline is the way they are. I think I have a theory, but really it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, the story itself is good. The way that it carries itself is really nice. I think one of the things that's interesting is the way that characters kind of carry themselves more or less exist in smaller spots. For instance, Pauline tells you more about themselves every time you guys kind of, you know, hang out in your little houses, but I feel like that's something I talk about throughout this episode. So either way, the story of this game is very simple, and I think it works. I think it's nice, it's cool. With that being said, let's move on to the gameplay. When it comes down to the gameplay of Donkey Kong Bananza, it takes a second to get used to because there's so many ways to punch, and it just feels awkward at first, but once you get into it, and once you get used to it, it feels great. It's one of those Nintendo Magic type of games, kind of like Mario Odyssey, and even, I'd argue, Banjo-Kazooie to a degree, mainly from design aspects, but it feels that way in like how they both understood and knew how to master the idea of platforming, and also just kind of Nintendo side understand the idea of what makes a game fun and also challenging in certain points. This game is hard to describe realistically because there's so much you can do in this game when in reality all you have to do is go down, right? You can collect bananas, you can collect Banandium gems, you can collect, you know, you can do challenges, and all of this stuff is stuff you can do. You have to do some, mind you, there's a race that is mandatory. You have to play the levels, but it's really your choice on how you kind of do it. I've never paid attention enough if the bananas are necessary 100%. They make the game easier, and I think that that's great, and I think that the lack of restriction is great. I think that that's something that needs to be praised. Not every game can pull that off. You need to do things, of course, but like, it doesn't feel like you have to like hunt down every single banana. There is no dramatic wall to it. There is a financial wall near the end of the game, but if you play the game, you're gonna get a lot of gold. This game, you're gonna have a lot of gold, right? You're gonna have a lot of gold by the end of the game just by playing it, so it doesn't seem to be that big of an issue. And you can always go back upwards. I like how this game feels familiar, but also is very new. One of the things that feels super familiar to me is the roll, and I like how, kind of like Cappy, it feels like you can do masterful moves with it. I can't, obviously, but I know that there's people that have, so I think that that's cool. The thing of this game is there's two things that I feel like I really need to hit on, and that is the Bananzas, and the breakable terrain. I'm going to talk about the Bananzas because I feel like I can say less about them than I can about the breakable and argumentatively movable terrain, because that's really where the game's bread and butter is, right? But the Bananzas are interesting forms within the game that when I initially saw them, especially Ostrich Bananza, I honestly thought, man, I'm not going to use that. Man, I'm just gonna, it's alright. But this game is such a freeform game that there is a use for them constantly. And that's something that's rare. As a Zelda, Metroid, even a Mega Man fan, you get all these power-ups and they feel situational, where the Bananzas, there's enough of them where all of them feel like they have a purpose, and some of them aren't my favorite, but all of them feel good. And all of them are usable. They're all, like, yes, they're situational as well, but there's times where I don't want to do the platform the way the game wants me to, and I just use a Bananza. And I like that. I like that option of having that throughout this game. I like how all the Bananzas feel. They feel great. And even the way they teach you how to use them is great. Upgrading them is great. Everything about the Bananzas are really great, and I love it, and I think that the game itself definitely, like Cappy, has made a name for itself. Moving on to the terrain, once again taking a page from Nintendo again, they take the kind of Zelda approach of where at Breath of the Wild they brought up that you can go as far as you want and you can climb anything, yada yada. And this game definitely says the same thing, but with breaking things. And boy howdy can you. You can destroy as much as you want. There are unbreakable items, of course, inevitably, but it feels very few and far between. You can destroy the crap out of this world, and you're rewarded for it. You get gold, you get treasure maps, you get, like, items, and it feels like it's calling for you to destroy the world, and it feels so good to do so. It feels so good to destroy the world, but it also feels good to learn the world, too. There's certain kind of rocks and bricks that do different things. There's an explosive brick, there's a rainbow brick that lets you float, and playing with all of these is amazing. I love it. This game is super, super, super fun, and it definitely shows that Nintendo knows what they're doing when it comes to platformers, and it only perplexes me that this game was not released with the Switch 2 initially. This feels like this should have been a launch title, and it would have been super impressive. Obviously, it's not as much of a console seller as, you know, Mario Kart, because Mario Kart, no matter what, is going to always have more people, but I feel like if you want to show what the console can do, this game definitely does show that. And I can see why they didn't. It's a risky game. It's riskier than Mario Kart, but I would have bought it. I would have bought it. It would have been a really cool release game to have. But none of that really matters. I also like how the bosses feel. They feel really good, and they feel like you can master them as well if you have the Bananza form. I like the challenge mode. They actually can get challenging. I love to see the, you know, classic modes. The old country is great, and I like how it's a beautiful remake of the first level. I like so much of this game gameplay-wise. And I think that it's so crazy to know that the last time we saw Donkey Kong was on the Nintendo 64 in a 3D setting, and I think that it's well worth the wait. They waited for a time where they could do something immaculate with the game, and they did it. And so I think that the gameplay is outstanding, but none of that matters if the whole package isn't there. How does it hold up in the presentation department? When I see the smile on your face, I know there's no other ape that could take your place. I cannot believe you feel the way that you do. Your love is like a dream come true. You are the sunlight warming up my day. Take my hand and everything's okay. I see bananas when I look in your eyes. I shower you in coconut cream pies. A love like ours don't grow on trees. Our love is like a summer breeze. Can't you see we're meant to be? Our love is stronger than a golden banana. Our love is stronger than a golden banana. Stronger than a golden banana. I really love the presentation of this game. I feel like that's obvious. I did a whole thing at the beginning of this, but I feel like the presentation itself is wildly interesting, being very much Donkey Kong while veering off into sometimes even more of like a Splatoon art style, right? With some of the more Octo-like enemies, and you know, it feels like all of Nintendo worked on this game, and you can see it visually. It feels like Nintendo was also not afraid to reference its past, and that's a crazy thing. There was a time where I just felt like Nintendo hated the Rare era, even down to them not utilizing the Rare era in the Donkey Kong amusement park, but I was vastly wrong. It feels like they love this era, from the levels being recreated beautifully to Donkey Kong still being there and being that kind of Donkey Kong from the Country era. Yes, he takes more of a cohesive appearance for Donkey Kong Classic, but he still is that Donkey Kong from that era. And there's other things too, like Diddy and Dixie and other things that I don't really want to spoil here. It's about that time where I could, but I feel like if you don't know, if you don't know and you're a Donkey Kong fan, good on you, man. I can't wait for you to make it there. But I feel like there's just so much love within this. It definitely has its own identity while keeping the cohesion, and I feel like that's the best I can say. The music in this game is also just really good, but that's kind of the Nintendo standard. I really love this. The vocals are really cool too. I love all of Pauline's songs, and it really just feels amazing. It's funny because Mario's been taking more vocals lately from Odyssey to now, and even then Nintendo's been putting their left ass cheek into the music, especially after Mario Kart. But this one definitely feels like they did it again. Pauline's songs are phenomenal, almost like Sonic levels, and Sonic has some really good vocals. So I don't know. I feel like it might be even better. Who knows? But to be fair here, that's weird because that's like two songs versus like a whole catalog of Sonic. But anyways, I feel like what I'm trying to say is it's up there. It's up to that caliber of vocals because Sonic has some good ones. Anyways, the presentation of this game is great. My only real issue is the final bosses are kind of rough. I've had a few frame rate dips, which feels odd for the Switch 2. It feels like something that shouldn't be happening, and it kind of makes me fear for what comes next for Nintendo. Maybe they can fix that, who knows? But I really don't feel like there should be that big of a drop. I know that I might not have been fighting one of the bosses properly, but I feel like if that's the truth, one, I still beat him, so it doesn't matter, and two, it just feels weird. I haven't had that many frame rate issues to my knowledge. Looking back at the gameplay footage, there might have been more, but it feels weird that the frame rate dropped at these parts, and it makes sense once you look at these bosses, and I'm even gonna spoil one of them. You know, once you see these bosses, once you see Void Kong specifically, it makes sense, right? For how much stuff is going on. For how much stuff is going on the screen, it makes sense that that boss would have this issue. But also, it's still confusing because the Switch 2, you think you would have worked around that. You would think that this console is powerful enough to not have this issue. And yet, here we are. It's not the biggest of issues, mind you, but it has happened once or twice. Outside of that, this game is just visually distinct, audibly distinct. I think it's good. With that being said, none of this matters. That being said, let's do the obligatory pricing. So when it comes down to the pricing of Donkey Kong Bananza, I feel crazy that I have to applaud Nintendo for not making this an $80 game. It is a regular standard price game, right? That is what this is. And what I mean standard price is I mean standard price for the modern day. Video games have boosted up to being $70, and that's what Bananza is, and it's crazy that I have to go, wow, I'm proud of you, Nintendo. You didn't pull dog shit. You didn't make this game $80. Wow, right? Like, I feel like I feel kind of shitty being like, wow, this game's $70, guys. Isn't that great? Right? Like, and I know that, like, realistically, we're probably not gonna see an $80 game again. Hope to fucking God we don't.
He's at it again!
But I feel like the fact that it is that is kind of crazy. And to be honest with you, if you're a Donkey Kong fan like me, it might as well be, because the amiibo is $30. Yeah, the amiibo is $30, and I really hate this uptick in amiibo prices. I think I've talked about this in another video that's coming up really soon. But, like, why are amiibos so expensive now? This one, yes, definitely looks better than most amiibos, but $20 would have been acceptable, right, for me at that point. This makes me fear what amiibos are gonna be, and if you want to phase out amiibos, Nintendo, just do it. Just do it. The thing that sucks about this amiibo is you get nothing for it, realistically. The thing about this game that they didn't tell you is to get the diva dress, you have to go halfway through the game and talk to an amiibo-looking statue guy. It's cute, but it's also a, come on, maybe give me other costumes. Maybe give me a Mario hat. Maybe give me a classic Donkey Kong something, right? Give me more for this amiibo. Instead, I found out that you get gold letters and... what the hell, dude? Right? It makes the amiibo experience not 100% worth it, and that's fine. But I feel like amiibos should either give you a golden banana, which is fair, kind of like Odyssey, you know? I think Odyssey didn't do that. I don't remember what Odyssey exactly did with amiibos. Did they give you costumes? I think they give you costumes.
They gave you costumes and they could give you health. Or,
See, yeah, that would have been fine. Hi, say hi, Olivia.
Hi.
I don't know if you could hear her, but they did that. They gave you health and coins, and you know, or in Donkey Kong's case, I think it'd be cool to get a free golden banana. It'd be a pain in the ass to do that constantly. Maybe health and gold would have been fun. Yes, they technically give you gold, and they give you terrain, but I'm not grabbing an amiibo for that. It's not a game like Zelda where I can get a costume, or sometimes I could get rupees, right? Where rupees are more important in Zelda, especially in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. In this game, it's more of a, yeah, I guess, yeah, you know? Because gold is gotten everywhere. There is almost no incentive, because I have my amiibos in a certain place in my house. So that requires me to have to get up off my couch and like go and get them, and I don't want to do that, you know, which is why you know, maybe why amiibo cards exist, I don't know. Either way, I don't think $30 is worth it, period, right? And you're gonna go, well, you did it. Yeah, because I like Donkey Kong, right? I know I'm a hypocrite, but also I'm gonna be a hypocrite that will admit that I was gonna pay it regardless, which is the problem. I am the problem. But I will also acknowledge that I would have preferred not to pay that much for it, you know? I also, the thing that's funny about it is that I thought it was going to be $20, right? You know, I thought that, I mean, of course the price is gonna raise, because amiibos are 15, so I thought the standard was gonna be 20. And even then, that's too much for a toy that doesn't articulate, you know, it's just a small statue. Anyway, this is away from Bananza. I feel like Bananza's pricing is reasonable, I guess, for the standard. And it's like, yeah, you know, I wasted 4 minutes. I wasted 4 of your minutes on this crap complaining. But like, yeah, I don't like, I'm fine with games being $70 now, I guess. I don't know. This one feels like it. This one feels like it's $70. Right? Because, yeah, you can beat it fast, but God, is there work and effort in it. I can see it. I can see why the development time would be longer, but that doesn't mean that I want this to be the standard, but it is, and I kind of hope it stays the standard. I do not want to pay $80 more for a video game. This show sucks because you're gonna see me do it again. I'm like SpongeBob with that shit. Call me the Quickster with video game pricing, because I... You want to see me buy that game? Want to see me do it again? Christ. Anyways, let's move on to the goods and the bads. I'm done embarrassing myself on the internet. This game is great, right? This game is great. It's showing the Nintendo Switch 2, when it comes to the games, are great. Mario Kart World is a great game, despite the online, and this game is great, just period. There's not really a big issue that I have with it. It is the perfect Switch 2 game, and I think that it's well worth its price for once. It's a standard game price, and it's crazy to me that we have to praise the game for being the standard of the day, for it being a price. That's crazy. But this game outside of that is great. I love everything about this game. As a Donkey Kong fan, this is everything and more that I wished for. I was hoping for a just simple Donkey Kong platformer, but they went above and beyond with the Bananzas. They went above and beyond with the terrain. They went above and beyond with the music. They went above and beyond and did what Breath of the Wild did, what Odyssey did, and it's showing that you don't have to just push out shit, really. This game, you don't have to push out crap, really. This game shows itself on how great it is, I think. I feel like if it's not your game, that's fine, but God, is it a really good platformer. It shows how Nintendo still has it with platformers, obviously. Like, I feel like the thing is, the reason I'm saying that is because when it comes to Nintendo, it feels like they really, really want to push Mario a lot. So it's very nice to see that they'll put the same effort into Donkey Kong. And that's, oh, it's so good. It's so good. It's so worth it if you're a Donkey Kong fan, and it's so worth it if you have a Switch too. It's a game that I feel like if you haven't picked it up, or you can, if you can pick it up, you should. It's definitely worth it. But no game's perfect. And I'm also super biased. It is confusing, but also kind of nice that the frame rate is the issue, right? Because, like, and also for where it's at, right? Like, it having an issue at the ending, I think, is nice. Because it could have been throughout the whole game. It could have been a Zelda Link's Awakening kind of situation. And it kind of feels that way. It's a dip that's so bad, but also it could be like, it could have been worse. It could have been throughout the whole game, right? And it feels like it's understandable for how much shit is on the screen, but it also feels like, man, this is the Switch 2. I was hoping we'd get past this. I'm hoping that we would understand, you know, the console. Of course, this is the beginning of the game. Of course, this is the beginning of the console's lifespan, but it's still kind of disappointing. It's not the worst thing in the world, but it's something that's like, man, because especially since I didn't have a problem with it. There might be people out there that have a problem with it. I have not looked up reviews. I normally don't. But, it's weird. It's weird that it's so late in the game. Another bad about this game is that it feels like there is a difficulty spike to a degree near the end, near the dead end. I don't want to show any of it, but it does feel like there is a difficulty spike. It's not terrible, especially if you utilize all of the Bananzas, but I feel like it's like, huh, you know? And that might just be a skill issue, and that's fine, but especially since it's the dead end, right? I feel like I don't even need to bring it up, but it is something that's like, wow, you know, so. With that being said, that's all I really have to say, you know? Let's move on to the final thoughts, which I think is obvious. So, is Donkey Kong Bananza worth your time? Is it worth your money? Is it worth anything? And the answer is, god damn it, yeah, it is. This is one of my favorite games of all time, and it's just been out for a short amount of time. The time, effort, and just everything about this game is great. From the ending to the secrets to just how you can destroy everything. This should have just been a release date game. I don't know what y'all were doing. This would have probably sold more than Mario Kart World, and I wouldn't have had as much of a debate. Let's be honest here. Mario Kart World pulled a big thing and said, hey, you know, let's drop this game's price. Let's not drop it, but let's, like, release it for this price. And if you would have told me that this was the price of, like, you know, Mario Kart World, if you would have said that that was it, I would have believed you for how much time and effort went into this game. Is it perfect? For me, yeah, but there are some minor issues that do not really matter, which you've heard me say in the episode. But all in all, go play this game. If you are able to have your hands on a Switch 2, this is an amazing title. And Nintendo, come here, do me a favor, come here. Okay? Make a bundle. this holiday season, make a bundle with this game, because this is a great way to start your Nintendo Switch 2 experience. This is a game that you should be looking for. Mario Kart World is great. I love it. You know, I'm still playing it to this day, and I'll still probably play it as much as I play any Mario Kart game until the next one. But this is a game that I'm always going to come back to time and time again. It showed that it had courage to do stuff that they didn't. It showed that they understand Donkey Kong, and it showed that the Switch 2 is worth it, at least if they're going to make more bangers like this. Right? That's all. And also, the price isn't freaking ridiculous. It's standard. Crazy that we have to ask for that. With that being said, this game is definitely worth it. Give it a try. It's amazing. So, with that being said, I'll see you guys next time here on Nostalgia Goggles. Bye! I was gonna say Bananza Goggles. Whew. God, I love this game. I don't know what's happening to me. I'm getting all the blame for things I didn't do. Can anybody tell me just what I did wrong? I'm all alone and I'm so confused. I don't know what everyone wants me to be. I only know just how to be me. Once I was the ape of the hour, they think I'm a coward. An absolute zero, I'm nobody's hero. An absolute zero, I'm nobody's hero. I'm nobody's hero.
That was lovely.
Yeah, well, thanks for listening to that shit, guys.